Silvia, Ruth, it's great. You've just come back from BRAC, Bangladesh. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, we were delighted to go there and spend about a week recently in Dhaka with the BRAC people. And we were engaged to look at knowledge management in BRAC. Really a bit of context to start with. The issues that we were hearing about were very much around the reputation of BRAC, how amazing the work has been over the last 40 years or so. I think anyone in our sector knows about BRAC, so we were delighted to be there. The work stands on its own right, but what we were discovering was that maybe the influence for increased impact at scale, there was potential for more. And that related very strongly to how knowledge is managed and how information is shared across BRAC. So we learned very quickly that there's a lot of scope for more advocacy work, to really share examples of amazing practice that BRAC is doing and has done over the years. So externally there was a need to look at more how knowledge is shared. And also internally we got to hear that amazing work was happening in the field, with the international offices that are quite recent, we believe, in the head office itself, and then within the departments in BRAC, the scope to share more and really exchange and hear information across these component parts. There's scope to do more, really. And so we engaged with BRAC on that level of how good information can be shared more effectively, the right people at the right time, as Silvia says. So that's how we kind of arrived in Dhaka.
Great. And so the purpose of the KM training, this knowledge management training,
the purpose goes back a little bit about why we first were called in, why BRAC first called in, really. It goes back to a previous relationship we've had and with IMA working with BRAC for quite a long time. Do you want to say a little bit about IMA? Just a tiny bit?
I can, yeah, of course. I mean, we've been, as you know, working in Bangladesh since the early 80s. So we go back a long way in Bangladesh, IMA as an organisation. With BRAC, we've known for many years, and we've had several participants from there on our scheduled programs around the world. Mostly they come to Bangkok, being closer, and more recently there's been this interaction, engagement around monitoring and evaluation, possibly the knowledge management that you've been doing, leadership. There's lots of areas that we're getting involved with working with BRAC. So yeah, as an organisation we've
had quite a long-term kind of relationship. It's true, and actually that's precisely the point, because Isabel came to the knowledge management course that we ran in November 2014 in Bangkok. And that's when she first came as a BRAC participant, and that's where it kind of started the ball rolling, because she went back to BRAC, and there were lots of discussions and little fires of knowledge management lighting up within BRAC, and with new staff coming on board, and changes that are going on. Then BRAC contacted us and basically was asking us to support with fostering this whole initiative of promoting knowledge management within BRAC. So it goes beyond the training course. The training, we were called in to run an awareness raising training course for specifically the KM officers, but in fact there was a lot more to it than that. There was awareness raising, there was training for the KM officers, there was awareness raising with the champions that we had, dedicated champions. There was awareness raising with different groups within BRAC. At headquarters they've got about 2,000 people at HO office in Dhaka, and we were working with different representatives of these groups really. We had IPC we talked with, we had
we had field staff. We
had the senior management team we were working with. So it was quite interesting, and so there was a multi-purpose aspect to what we were doing there, and the real continuity was with the KM officers, because they're the people that we saw over 3.5 days, over different days, but in terms of building a relationship with and working with. Yeah.
And what were your impressions of those officers?
Oh, extremely positive.
Extremely.
Yeah. They were.
And some champions there.
I think the foundation is so strong
Yeah.
for fostering knowledge management there. The officers were selected and really ready, so it's just at the brink of their role as being officers. A really lovely cohort working together well. The champions selected at various kind of levels in the organisation so that they can influence and lead, promote good practice. So I think there's really strong foundation. Plus the senior leadership and the new executive director has such a heart for learning and for knowledge sharing. I think that's just going to enable such an outworking of good knowledge management practice. So there's, in terms of kind of readiness and energy for it, we came across people with a real thirst for doing this, because it will improve the work really, and it will share good practice. So not as an end in itself.
No, really important to have that environment.
Yeah.
The welcoming environment for knowledge management.
Definitely.
From within.
Yeah.
So in connection with knowledge management, some areas for improvement or areas of excellence that's working. What's working really well?
Yeah, what's working well is the fact that there's many pockets of really good practice within programs. So from our limited exposure, but we heard a lot. We had open ears for listening to all these different groups. What we heard was an amazing array of good practice within programs, really innovative, creative ways of sharing information, really good ways of learning from each other.
That was the top innovations actually, and we've circulated that. We've sent that in an email loop actually to everyone as well, so that everyone's... And very contemporary kind of methods, different media being used. I think the limitations were that they were concentrated in certain areas, and I don't know how widespread knowledge of those practices is across the whole organisation. And I think people did echo this feeling that there's kind of silo working, and that was their language to us, wasn't it? Yes, and this is precisely the point. So knowledge management is seen as a way, it's hoped that it's a way of bridging these silos, in a way, getting people to talk to each other, not only within programs, but across programs and up and down the hierarchy of the organisation, which is, one of the key things, but also, like you said at the beginning, one of the potentials is that because of the changes that BRAC is undergoing at the moment, the whole idea of managing and sharing knowledge and learning from lessons and applying that new learning will help with other new ways of operating as well, which is really key. What about fire?
Oh, okay.
Fire.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So the very first day we were there, as people in BRAC will know, there was a fire, quite a big fire on the 5th floor. We were working on the 1st floor. So what we did appreciate was being really looked after, and we felt in really good hands, and people handled it really well. Calm, got everyone out, systems kicked in. I mean, what we experienced was
sounds
very
stressful,
worked.
But you were looked after. We certainly were quite stressed when we we all heard that news, and we were all in different countries as well at that time, and it was really good that you were kind of looked after.
We were, and on top of that, we were just put up in Nadia's house, a staff member's house. We just joined her family and just really received hospitality. So we got a flavour of how friendly and supportive the whole culture is, at least for us as newcomers.
And we also had, and people were willing to come back the next day, because we basically continued with our programs despite the fire, which was a major upheaval in parts of the building for certain teams. We continued with the workshop, and people coming in specifically for that for the next subsequent days. So that was real. Well, it was really an obvious sign of motivation as well, and of keenness and of willingness to.
And it's not usual for everyone to arrive on time at every session, and it just felt that this culture is on it, and people are responsible and accountable, and just a small impression of that said a lot to us.
That's great, and really good.
Everyone doing what they said they would do.
So we're just hoping that we're going to stay in touch and do some more and support more really with what's happening next, because we're really excited to hit what's next. What's next?
In terms of timing, what are you thinking?
We're waiting for, we developed, well, we you know, with all the voices that we heard, we co-created a roadmap. We developed a report which we've circulated and it's hopefully being shared within BRAC. There's a draft strategy for knowledge management which the organisation can take forward. There's a roadmap for 4 years with more short-term actions over the 2016 and more longer term.
And what we did was just offer a kind of framework, so 3 pillars that seemed appropriate, within which we could populate, or we populate those pillars of knowledge management with real, practical, doable activities under each, so we can track progress against the 3 pillars. And I think what we all agreed and shared was that they are dependent on a mindset of learning, which is all about reflection and learning from practice, which supports the overall strategy of BRAC. So so that's the kind of place we're at now.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Happy birthday, Ruth.
Happy birthday.